Hello there, my name is Bruce Rain from Brankers Creations and welcome to my live stream. Thank you for joining me. I know there wasn't a whole lot of warning for this one. Excuse me, that camera seems a little high. I know there wasn't a lot of warning for this one. Yeah, I slept in a little bit. So wanting to actually make the live stream happen not too late in the day because of the whole time zone thing. I'm just being sort of very wary. Okay, so got just a little shout out to Thomas, to Retro Techie, to Dana, to Adam McGee, DJ Craze, Patrick, Ezekiel Blah. I think that's everyone thus far. So thank you for joining. I am going to try and keep this live stream to less than 2 hours. So how about that? And max one. I am planning to recap this today, which is an LC2 board. A very easy way of telling that it's an LC. First of all, this gap here. That's a dead giveaway. It's from the LC family. Boop, right there. So when you see that, you know it's from the LC family. And then in terms of identifying it as an LC2 as opposed to an LC1 or a 3 or a 475, LC2 has the 030 CPU and it has a blank spot for an FPU socket, and that's what tells us an LC2, because Apple were like, nah, you're not putting an FPU on there, you've got to spend more money if you want an FPU. So all of the it can work with an FPU, there's just no socket for it. And of course you can add the socket. Mystery Margot, hello. John Mortz, hello. Jay is here, hello Jay. Don, hello. I think that's it. Yep, I think I've got all the new ones. If anyone jumps on and I don't mention your name, it's not personal, I do apologise. So that's the plan. It's just the one board that I'm going to do today, but it is of course one of the LC family, and they are just, I mean, look at all the caps. So many caps. Drives me crazy. Okay, so anyhow, in terms of a bit of a recap of what I've been up to, a quick recap. I was working on classic. Was I working on that on stream, or was I working it on not? I think I worked on it not on stream. So my last live stream, I worked on a Macintosh Classic with a checkerboard issue, and we got that sorted by replacing a little whatever he was, a little QP1 opto isolator, and then I had another one here with a very similar sort of problem, same but different. So the one that I had before, it was reading I think around about 3 volts or something like that, and it was fixed. This one is reading around about 4.5 volts, which is obviously not far from the Magic 5, but still not quite there. There was a capacitor that had been installed by the owner that was upside down. The polarity was wrong. Hello to Mark W. Bennett, love the shirt. I have the same one. How about that? So it's a little bit. This one's a little bit warm now, but this is the little inside reference to the old Alien franchise. So anyhow, I'm not sure what to do with this next. I bought a whole bunch of replacement opto isolators, but what I really need to do is I need to check and make sure that I did actually get the right one. So I'll get a working one and I'll swap this over and see if it still works afterwards. So, because if I got the wrong ones, this could be the cause of the problem. So anyhow, this is the analog board that I have been looking at. I'm still working on it. But what I did do, and this is the main reason why I'm showing it, is that I have 3D printed these little things. I don't know if you can see them. See the things sticking out there? I've 3D printed these so that I can rest the old analog board onto the bench flat. So if we go here to a top view, oh, that's a little bit close. Let's zoom out some. Hang on, sorry. Nope. Yep. Okay, there we go. So, you get to see all my mess on the table. So now I can have this sitting flat to work on it, and make it a lot easier, because these are obviously a real pain to work on when they're all wibbly wobbly. So yeah, so anyhow, these are more of the things that I will eventually get onto Thingiverse for people that have 3D printers. Look at all those Wi-Fi antennas. Where are they? Where are the Wi-Fi antennas? Oh, I see what you're saying. These things look like Wi-Fi antennas. They kind of do, don't they? So yeah, beep, beep, beep. So that's the analog board. I'm not going to be looking at that today because it's annoying me, and I don't like working on things that annoy me. Certainly not on live streams anyway. Unlike yesterday, I got to work on a PC laptop for most of the day, and it was a freaking nightmare. I do not like working on PC laptops. No sir. And it is a reminder that if you are someone in the Mac world, you get kind of very used to and spoiled by certain things. Like, for example, the ability to just download an OS. Yeah, I'm just going to download an OS and, format the hard drive and install something. It's like this one here. I downloaded Windows 10, made myself a bootable USB, installed Windows on it. No drivers, doesn't recognize any of the internal hardware on the thing, just loaded all generic drivers, tried to get hold of the drivers for the computer from the manufacturer, couldn't get anything from them. When I try and get some support on the computer, it's a 2020 model, they go, it's not under warranty anymore. The only drivers they had available were like some kind of firmware updates and stuff. No actual drivers for any of the hardware, nothing like that. And I just thought to myself, this is just such a tedious process. Anywho, Ezekiel it just says, saw the UV light review. Yes, quick shout out to Jay if you want to drop the link to the video in there. One of the things that we use quite a lot in this repair business is the UV solder mask, which I keep mine in a little light tight tub like this that gets a little bit dirty. And you basically paint it on and then you cure it with UV light. Well, I've tried lots of different UV lights throughout the sort of different testing and stuff like that. I've had fluorescent ones like this. If I can get that into camera. Can I get that into camera? Sort of. It's just coming into camera there. Yeah. So there's like a fluorescent UV light there. I've had LED ones. I've used UV lasers. And so far the laser is the one that dries the UV the fastest, but the downside is it's a tiny little point. So if you're drying a large area, it's a bit of a pain. And the best thing to do, of course, is to just paint it with UV mask and then sit it out in the sun. But it's not always sunny, and like it is today here, it's actually just started raining. Yay! Which of course is going to stuff up the cricket. It's going to stuff up the cricket. Day 5 of the cricket. Not happy about it. So yeah, Jay came across this light, which is designed to be to provide sort of UV light, an intense amount of UV light, but on a broader area rather than just that pinpoint of a laser. And he did a review of it, and I have watched that review, and I have come to the conclusion that it's not for me. That particular light. I have, based on that review, actually gone and bought something else, and I will probably do a review of that because I want to compare how it is. Now, the big problem that I have is that often when I'm working on a board like this, I might end up painting UV mask in like 25 different places all over the board, and I want something that I can hover above this and leave on for like half an hour while I go and have a cup of coffee or something like that, and then come back and have it all dried. The UV globes that I've bought, they tend to work quite well to start off with, and then they peter out. I don't know why, but they just lose their intensity as time goes on. It's quite frustrating. So I've bought like a UV lamp. It says specifically it's used for UV drying. Setting UV glues and stuff like that. So should be in the right wavelength, which is about like 405 nanometers. So we'll just see what happens when that arrives. I bought a UV globe, which is one of the brightest bloody globes I've ever seen, but it's in the wrong wavelength. It's in the wavelength that's designed for UV, what do you call it, disinfecting. But it's not in the right wavelength for drying that stuff. So anyhow, that's a little bit of nonsense. Did Jay fix the mini yet? I'll let him answer that. So just again, just a little mention there of Jay from the House of Moth. He gets mentions because he's the only Mac Yakker that's actually in the chat at the moment. All the other Mac Yakkers aren't, so they don't get mentions. So Jay loves a challenge. Bought himself a broken Mac Mini logic board, and when I mean broken, it is an absolute mess. Rusty mess. And Jay's challenge, it was sold as, absolutely unrepairable. Will never work again, I think the person said. And Jay said, what was it? Hold my beer. So I assume that there is going to be some sort of testing live stream or something coming up in the future, Jay. I certainly hope so. I'd be very disappointed if you didn't share that. Okie dokie. Is your voltage change bit holder? Voltage change bit holder. Oh, what's my voltage change bit holder? Can you elaborate on that? Sorry, John. And we'll be working on it until Bruce stops streaming. Oh, that's putting the pressure on me. We have some terrific UV LED arrays and a couple of our UV printers. They'd be excellent for something like this if you could get them. Yes, they would be. I mean, I expect they are probably in a fairly hefty price range, those ones. But yeah, because my cousin actually works in that industry as well. He uses UV printers. So. But anyhow, as I say, I've got one on order. It is one that is meant to be pretty powerful, and it's one that's meant to work in the way that I want it to work. We will see. It is theoretically an array of, I think, 4 or 6 of the same little UV LEDs that are in Jay's one. So Jay's got one, super bright little UV LED in there. And this one is theoretically an array of 6 of them. So in theory, I should be getting some pretty awesome output from it, but we'll just see. Long white bit holder in the camera view. Oh, hang on. Oh, this thing. Yes, sorry. That is not, but it will be available on Thingiverse. It really should be a little bit longer than it is, but I have a bit of a limit to how high I printed it that way, printed it vertically, and I have a limit to how high I can go. Not so much from the printer, but more from just all the crap that I've got on the top of it. I've got all lights and things all attached to the top of it, and once the Z-axis gets up to a certain point, it starts getting a bit upset. So this is the height that I printed it. But yeah, this will be on Thingiverse eventually. The only thing I would say about it is because it fits this little bit. Your printer may have slightly different extrusion settings, and you may end up having to tweak a little bit if you can't get that can't get it to fit in. So I've made this so that it's just the perfect size based on printing from my printer. So I suspect that even if I did it in a different color filament, I'd probably have a bit of strife. Yes, I know I should get all those extrusion settings exactly the same. I get them close, but they're not exact. Okay. All right, well, I think we need to get into recapping this thing because I've talked enough. Here are some caps that I removed from an analog board. They're fair game for blowing up, aren't they? Did anyone get to see the end of the last stream where I blew up a cap? Pop-a-rooney it went. Pop, 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 pop it goes. All this RAM here. Get that there. The disc is just so messy at the moment. I did clean it recently and then it just got messy again, as it does. And my bin is overflowing. I need to empty that out because now I'm just throwing things and they're just falling on the floor, which is not good. Is that 1/4 or 5/16 inch bit? Yeah, hang on. It is a, let's see what this might tell me. Precision screwdriver, it says. Maybe this one tells me. They're a fairly standard sort of size. Because, I mean, these little kits that I've bought, they all seem to come in the same size. I can measure it for you. If I had a ruler down here, or vernier calipers or something. Ah, here the verniers. Found them. I'll even be able to do this in both for you, because this one will be able to do it for me. So it is about 4 mils, 4 millimeters, 3.95. So I would say that's probably a 4 mil. And if we change that to incheronis, 0.155 inches, which means nothing to me. So we have been metricated in this country since 1966. So inches don't really... I mean, I know what an inch is. And there are times where I even use the inch. I go, it's about an inch. It's about an inch. Because, you know, it's better than saying it's about 2.5 centimeters for certain sizes. But once things get smaller... Oops, I just LOL'd. Once things get smaller than an inch, and they start getting into fractions of an inch, that's where I feel like it all gets kind of silly and I just start working in millimeters. Right. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, that is the size of that bit. But it is, as I say, it's a fairly standard size. I mean, you know, when you get even just like these iFixit kits that you get when you're doing a phone repair or something, and they come with a kit, it's that size. It's that size. See? Yeah. Okay, so let's continue, or let's start. Haven't even started yet. Alrighty, 1/4, 0.25 inch, 6.35. Okay, well, it's definitely smaller than that. I know 1 inch is 25.4 millimeters. I know that. I know that from back in the old days when I used to work in print and pre-press, because most of the equipment that we would get would be from Europe, which was in sort of lines per centimetre or dots per centimetre. But in this country, for whatever reason, we still refer to things as dots per inch. So when you would have something that was like 1,000 dots per centimetre, it was 2,540 dots per inch. So, yeah, something like that. Anyhow. Okay, 4 millimetre. All good. Right. So, all right, that's enough of that. It's enough. It's enough. Now it is time to start removing some caps. Now this particular board here, we're going to just grab, I don't think I've even entered this into the system. So that's bad. That is a bad thing. I have been bad. I should probably put it in the system just because I know who it belongs to. I have a repairs software here, and I'm just going to put it in here so that it gets a code. It needs a code. Very important to have a code, because then when I can write the code on this bag. Jobs, create new job. Customer, where is he? There he is. And this is an LC2. Where is it? LC2, March 1992 release date. And then we will call, what are we doing to this? We are recapping. Received, I'm not sure what date it came in, but I can look that up later on. Product serial number is, oh gosh, eyes. Z S 3198 5 R D 79. Oh, that's the wrong place. It's meant to be there. There we go. Save job, and we now have a job ID of 148. So now we can pretend that I'm efficient. That, and that. Right, 148. 148. Just means that when I take all these bits out, I pop them in a little bag. It means that even if the two get separated, the board gets separated from the bag, it's very easy for me to marry them up again. I take photos of the boards as soon as I get them so that I know what's included. You know, for example, this one here has a little battery holder, but no battery. Some of them come with a battery and a battery holder. Some of them come with a battery and no battery holder, or a little cover, that is. So, you know, I just like to always know exactly what they sent me so that I can send it back exactly the same thing. Now, one of the big things with the LC2 is there are a lot of caps. We've got these three here, 4716. There's a couple of 4716s there as well. But most of them are these, I think they're 10 microfarad 16, something like that. And there's this little dense population of them here, which of course causes quite a lot of strife. I can probably zoom down a little bit now. We've done all that other stuff. Yeah, ooh, too far. Too far. There we go. Quick little mention, need to say a little shout out to the old Kaiweets people. Thank you very much to the people from Kaiweets. They are the Kaiweets KM601 people, the people that made this absolutely awesome multimeter, which I have been using very, very regularly because I absolutely love it. Links in the description where you can buy one of these if you want. But I have got coming up a giveaway. I will be giving away 3 of these multimeters to a lucky winner. There will be a video explaining what you have to do to enter, and there will be a sort of a live stream that you need to watch. So that's coming up. But another thing I should mention is Kaiweets have got another product they're going to send me for another product review. So that will be coming out soon. Something to look forward to. Doing a little bit of a product review again. Spirit Walker Adventures, hello. Good time for a stream, just wrapped up in my blanket and settled in to watch. Well, that is good. Get nice and comfy. Okay, just having a look here. Okay, so it's 5:32. There we go. Oh, GT's here, hello. We rebelled, yes. Yes, well, I have to say, you know, considering I think US now is the only country in the world that has not yet metricated. In actual fact, lots of, in the scientific community, they've metricated. I mean, they use the metric system in most sort of scientific realms in the US. I mean, places like NASA use the metric system. Yeah, I'll tell you what, that is one stubborn rebellion going on over there for the old imperial measurements, as we call them. Yeah, hanging on to it. Oh, no, that's not right. That belongs to that computer down there. I shouldn't make them mine yet. All right, so we are going to whip off these caps, and for that we will be using a hot air station. I will not be doing the twist and pull method, and the reason for that is it's not my board. And it is way, way too easy to damage the board by using that method. It is so steamy in here. Charlie, how's it going? What am I working on today? I'm working on an LC2. We're going to just be recapping this. That's all I'm going to be doing today. It's not... Whoa, craps. Just turning on the AC. It's getting a bit warm in here. It is... Whoa. Better put some of these caps away. Are they going to fall down? Can you see them here? Yeah. A little bit wobbly. They're all the analog board caps rather than the logic board. There's one. 2, 3, 4. Okay, now I've got my logic board caps here, my surface mount tantalum capacitors that I will be replacing the electrolytics with. Whew. US does not use the imperial gallon. For anyone who is not familiar with the metric system, one of the really, really cool things about it is the way that it crosses over. For example, if you have 1 litre of water, which is 1,000 millilitres, if you have 1 litre of water, it weighs 1 kilogram. And it's kind of really handy to have all those things together. So, yeah, really good for cooking, actually, I have to say. You know, when you're measuring out ingredients and stuff. Sorry about the microphone noise. This thing is the wire, because it's a bit steamy in here. The wire keeps going in my armpit. So, okay, hopefully that solves it. Okay, Jared Burma, hello. LC2, my favorite. Yes, it's the plus side to an LC2 is you get a decent live stream out of it. The downside is that it's just got so many bloody capacitors. All right, let's see if we can make this happen. Get some microscope view, see what this board looks like. Make myself a little bit of room here. Oh, we've got some nice juicy stuff going on here. Yeah, okay, Retro Techie. In Canada, we are using both. We fill our cars in litres, but when we describe our height, we say feet, oddly enough. Interestingly enough, the age that I am, I still generally refer to heights in feet because that's something that's taken a lot longer for people to get used to. So, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good with heights and centimetres as well, but you know, my natural instinct is to go to feet and inches for heights. See, look at that. Look at that smeary goo. So that's all of our capacitor leakage going on there. And it's very easy to see that this one has suffered a little. And this is the sound chip here that I've got my great big fat finger pointing at. And this is one of the reasons why sound is often impacted by leaky capacitors, because there's so many around the sound chip. Smeary goo, smudge. Okay, we've got a new one. So we've got gunge, scunge, punge, and smudge. So, blame Egypt for the clock's good old base 60 systems. You know, it's the interesting thing about base 60, or even 12 for that matter, the fact that the hours, we have hours in 12, or we have 360 degrees. One of the really good things about it is the fact that you can halve, third, quarter these numbers with them still remaining whole numbers, and that's obviously why they were chosen. But you know, so you can, if you have, you know, 60, you can halve it and have 30. You can quarter it and have 15. You can third it and have 20. And so it's just a very handy sort of number. Yeah. I've never seen another that does Celsius, only Fahrenheit. What a pain. Yeah. As I say, we've been metricated here for such a long time. It's just, you know, it's everywhere. You know, you will, you know, I mean, I find it really funny when I'm watching like home renovation TV shows, like on HGTV, and they might be, you know, going in and talking about their measurements, and they're doing all this stuff in, you know, half inches and stuff like that, and of course it's so foreign to me, you know. I mean, if you're talking to tradies and stuff out here, everything is in millimeters. Even big measurements, you know, like you sort of you know, like 50 mils or 37 mils or whatever. Everyone just sort of works in mils in the industry until you get to really, really long, and then you start working in meters. But my hand's sticky. I've stuck my hand in something sticky on the table. It is almost definitely a bit of gooey flux. So, and I hate that. All right, let's have a look at this and start getting some caps off. Now, the area that I'm always most cautious of is around here, and that's because I don't want to melt the serial number. But it is an incredibly difficult thing to resolve, because if I stick something to the serial number, it will often peel off the printing. So I sort of have to stick something metal, like this, stick something metal there, like that, that's a blade, and then tape that blade down, which kind of really sucks. You know, because I mean, even if I decide that I don't want to use a hot air gun and I just want to use a soldering iron, it's still really, really hard to do that without melting the darn thing. What about my aluminum? Where's my aluminum? Hello, aluminium. Remember I bought that roll of aluminium? Does anyone remember that? I did buy it. It's here somewhere. It's got to be here. Ugh, crap. Things are a little bit chaotic here at the moment because of the amount of things that I have on the go at once. It's not the way I like to do things, but it is sometimes how things work out. All it takes is like a couple of computers that are giving me some grief, and they have to be put aside to work on the speedy stuff, and the next thing you know, I've got, you know, 8 compact Macs all around the place. It's crazy. It's just crazy. Why is that here? Don't answer that. That's rhetorical. Oh, crap. That I do need. Excuse me. I'm just looking for my long blades, which are here. There we go. Found one. Kapton tape is see-through. It is indeed. Need a 3D printed clip to go over the edge of the serial number. Yeah, it would. I mean, I'd melt it probably, but you're right. It would be good. So I'm just going to get the old Kapton tape, and I'm going to try and tape this down in a way that it might actually stay where I want it to, while I remove these caps. It's not very effective, is it? Nope. Nope, it's not. Nope. Okay, going to add some solder here to this this side. Going to need some flux as well. What did I drop now? It was a cap. Don't know where it came from. Okay, so here's now where we have a problem because of the thing I dropped on the floor, which I now need to find. Because it's the thing that allows me to squeeze out the flux. And it fell on the floor. And for some unknown reason, has completely disappeared. It is white. It is large. How does it disappear? Come on. Come on. Where on earth did it go? Oh, right there. It's disguised, it fell on something white. Okay. Oh, now it's dirty. Great. Oh, far out. Right, plunger. Got my plunger now. So let's get a little bit of flux on there and there. And I'm just going to try and take these ones off using methods other than hot air stations, so that I try and protect that serial number. And of course being very careful that I don't damage. Who's that? It's a pigeon. There's a pigeon coming to say hello to me. Hello, pigeon. Why do I feel like I keep hitting my microphone? Capacitor fairy have gotten stronger. Yeah, they're now taking my 3D printed things. Ouch. Dear. Right. Can I get this off now? That is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. This isn't going well. Oh, Tom. Hey, Tom. And did I say hello to Christopher Souza? If not, hello. The thumbnail lured me. So I've started doing silly thumbnails because, I don't know, it just seemed... I like them. I like them. Hey, we got that one off. So if you have never been here before, Christopher, what I am doing is a bit of recapping of a vintage computer here, being a Macintosh LC2. And it is one that is suffering from electrolytic leakage, and we want to try and get it working again. This board belongs to one of my regular customers who has sent this to me in the hope that I will be able to bring it back to its former glory, so that he can, I don't know, play Prince of Persia on it or something like that. Okay, well, we got those off without too much serial number damage, so I'm pretty happy with that. And I do always say to people when I work on this stuff that we're dealing with heat, we're dealing with stuff that can wreck serial numbers, so that while all care is taken, I cannot guarantee that some of these things won't end up getting damaged. Would hot tweezers work better to remove caps like this? Probably. One of the big issues that I actually have is that this soldering station I have, which is a Hakko FX951, won't do the Hakko soldering tweezers. You actually need a different unit. It's a big, very expensive unit. And it actually enables you to use a soldering iron and tweezers at the same time, which is kind of cool. And I actually had a bit of a go at Hakko about that. Not that they listen to me, but you can actually buy a cheaper soldering station made by Hakko that will do the tweezers. And I just thought it was a little bit rude that I buy the more expensive one and it won't do the tweezers. So anyhow, yeah, I do have issues with the Hakko station, but on the whole, it's pretty good. So, thumbnail scared me. Yeah, it was meant to. Watching while enjoying tacos. I love tacos. What's in the taco? Please tell. What form of protein have you got inside the taco? Oh God, I'm hungry for tacos now. Nope. I'm not doing that. I'm making something else for dinner tonight. I'm not doing tacos. So I can't start getting all taco hungry. Now, well, Hakko 206 haven't tried using the tweezers yet. And I could theoretically get 2 soldering irons and come in from either side, because I've got lots of soldering irons. Can never have too many soldering irons. Alright, now it's time to start using the hot air station. So this part I will probably use some of my little heat shields, which are just little blades from a box cutter that I just rest in between things. This here, for example, is this tantalum capacitor. While it won't be damaged by the heat, it will go brown and look unsightly, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to put something in between there, and then we'll start whipping off these caps. And try not to whip off anything we don't want to whip off. I'm having trouble getting a good angle here. I better spin this around. Take control. Tell the board who's boss. Ah, there we go. Yeah. Come on. Come on. Off. 1, 2. Once the board gets warm, the other caps start to fall off nice and easily. So, you know, it's just under these circumstances kind of good to try and knock off a few at the one time. But just being very mindful of the fact that we're also going to start moving around into areas where there is plastic which can be melted. So, for example, here we have the headphone socket and the, I think that one's the headphone, and that one is the microphone socket. So, input and output. And these have got plastic on them, so I'm going to need to shield those. I don't want to melt them. There we go. Let's get some more of these off. And once again, I don't want to lift any of these other surface mount components off, which I have done before. I'm not proud of it, but I've done it before. Now once all of this is done, this board will then go into an ultrasonic cleaner and come out squeaky clean. Sorry, I'm a bit behind on that. Oh, chorizo, pork and chili relleno? I don't know that word, sorry. But it sounds pretty good. Just picked up a 951, used it for the first time today, and it's pretty nice. Yes, I would agree with that. It is pretty nice. Is he done yet? Hello, Mike. Welcome to the live stream. Any thoughts on PCB board warmers? It's an interesting thing you say, because I do actually have one. And so, okay, here's the thing. I had an Amazon gift voucher, and that Amazon gift voucher was for Amazon US, not Amazon Australia. And I went to buy one of those board heaters, and I'd had a look around, and as far as I could see, these board heaters worked on either 110 or 230 volts, so that 240 volts. They had, power supplies that would adapt. And so anyhow, I saw an ad for one of these, and it said 110 volts, and I'm like, oh, this is the same sort that I've seen in other places that accept 230 volts as well. So I bought it, and then when I got it here, I realized it was a 110 volt only device. So it's there in a box, has not been used. I tried it with a step down transformer, but it was using too much power, and so the step down transformer just immediately tripped. So I am in contact with the seller to see if there is something I can do to modify it, to make it so that it will work with 230, 240 volts, because I know they make it for 230, 240 volts. I know that because there's actually a sticker on the back underneath the 110 volt sticker that says 230 volts. So they, I guess they were originally 230 and then got modified for 110. So anyhow, that's where I am with the board warmer, and I'm not at all happy about that situation. It's not ideal. I'll probably have to send it back and buy another one. Okay, 32.768 hertz clock crystal. Yes, there it is. Y1. Bing. Probably even, does it have the numbers on it? Maybe. And this one here, for anyone who's looking, is the CUDA chip, also known as the egret chip. If you're going to be having problems with your ADB, that's probably the cause of it. What else? Oh, 3 more caps to go. We are not finished yet. To be removed, that is. Then I've got to clean them all. So what are we doing? I need to shield this somehow. And now would be a really good time for me to find my aluminum tape. And it's probably over here somewhere, but I literally can't get to it because of this pile of logic boards. Piffle. Right, we'll just have to come up with something here. Okay, when the next UT 2004 tournament? Yes, I wouldn't mind a 2004. I didn't like the 99. Wasn't a big fan of that. But I enjoyed the 2004, even though I get killed constantly because I'm very, very bad at it. But that's okay. Can't be good at everything, can I? There's a lot of implication that I'm good at lots of things, but I'm certainly not. Okay. Let's get this cap off. Your time on this board is done. As you can see, there is quite significant leakage going on here, all of that discoloration around the caps, and of course some of those ones, which we'll be cleaning up in a moment, there's all sorts of guns under there. Look at this, Steve's here. Look, we're getting all the Macyakas here now. I'm going to have to give you all plugs, aren't I? So, Mike's Mac Shack, check out his channel, some awesome content on there. When is the next gaming one? Mike. That was good fun. So he did a Return of Castle Wolfenstein Part 1 and a Return of Castle Wolfenstein Part 2. I'm curious about what game's going to be on the next Mike's Retro Adventures or whatever it's called. Retro Gaming Adventures? I can't remember what it's called. So yes, shout out to Mike. And Steve, Mac84. Well, you guys, I'm sure, all know Steve from Mac84 because he's a very famous YouTuber. We call him a content creator. Makes it sound really professional. Oh, and did I mention GT? I should have mentioned GT, or Mac Attack, also known as. Check out his channel. Okay. Now, how long has it been since I mentioned how good it is to have a Kaiwitz KM601 multimeter? Right, so that's all the caps off. Now we're going to start doing a little bit of cleaning. So, as you can see, there is a lot of gunge left behind here, and I will not be putting any new capacitors on, any replacement capacitors, until I get these pads looking like they're brand new. And that might sound like it's a really difficult thing to do, but it's not. We basically use a little bit of flux. So we'll put some flux on these. We use some fresh solder. We use heat. We use a little bit of a gentle rubbing action. And we use perseverance. And then we will get those looking delicious again. Ooh. What was that? Oh, there's a spider on the table. Hello, little spider. He's a very little spider. I mean, he's like tiny. I might try and move him because I don't want him to get hurt. Can I move you, little guy? What if I get you up onto this here? Might like that. Chasing. Ooh, ooh. Hurry. There we go. Gotcha. So I can put him on the board now. We can see him. Hello, little guy. Hey, little fella. Isn't he cute? Hello. I need to put him somewhere where he might be safe. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put him up here. He looks like a fairly resourceful little guy. So I'm going to pop him up here. Come on. You can't stay there. Whoopsie. Come on. I know. I'll get him on a Q-tip. Oh God, my Q-tips fell over. Boy, this is working out to be a whole lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. And now I can't find him. Oh well. I'll assume he's just flying off the board. Or is he? Oh no. Here he is. Is he? I think he's there. I don't know. I can't find him. Anyhow, that's enough of that. Alright, so. I was trying to learn recapping, I like that. I bought a Quadra 950 today. How big is your Mac? Oh. Yeah, not all of them can catch birds, this is true. that one certainly wouldn't be catching a bird. What did I want to mention? Quadra 950, one of my favourite vintage Macs. Absolutely no doubt about that. It is a shame that they are becoming quite rare and very expensive because, I managed to get lucky with one. There was a guy who went to a warehouse where someone was selling some Macs, and he had two 950s. I think it was two, possibly even three. And so this guy, I said, I was really interested in one. So this guy let me have one and he had the other. I paid for it, of course. Not a whole lot, but I paid for it. But it's actually one of the things that I would say to everyone who's interested in the vintage computer collecting is do become active in the communities, because you will oftentimes end up getting deals for things that you simply would not get if you were doing eBay, things like that. I am not looking to rip anyone off, but at the same time I am looking for the same sorts of prices I sell things for. If I am out to make a mozza from something, if I actually want to make money from it, I will put it on eBay. But if I'm dealing with other members of the community, I will sell things for very reasonable prices because that's what I want. And so, that's the way to go, is to get to know, people in the vintage computer community, and we share things around. Some things I pay a lot for, some things I pay a small amount for, some things I just get given. People are just like, oh yeah, I got 3 of these, you can have one. It's like, yay. Oh yes, and don't ever buy from someone with polka dot backgrounds. Yeah. So we are referring to a particular individual who fancies himself a bit of a fancy eBay seller and likes to dictate rather ridiculous pricing. Do not buy from people like that. It's as simple as that. Oh, and of course the other thing is, for goodness sake, don't assume that the price that someone is trying to sell something for is the market value of something. I have seen that way too many times, where people say to me, oh, you got one of those, they're worth $350. I've seen one on eBay for $350. It's like, well, you've seen one on eBay that hasn't sold for $350. Have a look at the sold items, then you find out what things are really worth. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, 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 beep. Bibbidi, 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 bib, boo. Bibbidi, bibbidi, boo. All those fumes coming up. I do have the fume extractor on, but I might need to turn it up a little. So we're just working our way around. As you can see, these pads aren't taking too much work to get them looking pretty again. I want to make it so that the whole pad will accept solder. So if I end up with one, if I put solder on it, and you can see there are little edges here that are not taking solder. They're dirty. Got to clean them up. Whoopsie. Dirty. 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 I'm not even sure if I've got the means to test this today. I hope I do. The LC2 is one of the ones that does some weird things sometimes if you connect it up without it being properly grounded in the case. It can make weird little fart noises when you switch it on. I have a Quadra 700 inside of a 2CX for some reason. I will accept trades for equal Frankenstein. Now, that you must have holes cut in the back of that case, otherwise you wouldn't be able to connect the monitor. Would I be correct in that assumption, Drake? Because the 2CX doesn't have built-in video, so there's nowhere for a video port on the back of the case. So I'm assuming someone has cut a hole in your case. Would that be correct? I am curious to know. I have one working 700 and one 700 that needs repair. Me too. The 700 that needs repair, I will probably never repair. I may end up just using it as spares. It's one that there's a lot of corrosion from battery leakage, and it's really hard to know where that corrosion is. You know, it's through vias and stuff like that. So without a schematic diagram, it makes it really hard to know what has actually been damaged. You know, you can fix the visible trace damage, but if it's damage between inner layers of the board, if it's like, you know, a link between inner layers, it's really, really hard to fix that up. Straws is here. Hey Joe, how are you? Thank you for joining. That was one hell of a marathon live stream you did yesterday. Crikey. Was it 5.5 hours or something like that? 5 hours, 15 minutes? It was long. Yes, Joe's Computer Museum. He started off with his little, what do we call it, sort of pumpkin SE30 with some little orange LED strips and an orange CRT, which is quite, and a clear case, of course. And then we moved on to, what was it, some sort of Amiga type thing, or Commodore or something like that. With memory, and you had to replace all the RAM on it or something. It's like crazy, man. And I was very impressed that you replaced all of that RAM with sockets, so that's someone that's future-proofing that computer, so that when it Atari 130XE, there you go. Oh, okay. Still not fixed. The keyboard mylar needs to be replaced. What a pain. This recap better not take that long. I've got way too much to do today. I need to try and keep these live streams going on a reasonably regular basis, just, you know, for several reasons. One, just to sort of keep a bit of content happening on the YouTube channel, you know, keep the interest going, keep getting through some of these recappings and stuff like that. But I can't necessarily go in and do great big long 3-4 hour ones. Apart from everything else, I stream at a different time. It's not like I start streaming at, like, I don't know, 10 at night or something, and then just decide to keep going for as long as I can before I fall asleep. I'm doing this in the middle of the day to try and work with the time zone differences. And for that reason, with it being right slam bang in the middle of my Sunday, I've got chores to do. I've got things I have to do. So, yeah, that does limit me a little. Now, as you can see, all of these pads are now looking nice and shiny, all ready for new components to go on. I don't see anything here in the way of, you know, sort of trace damage. Oh, what's that? He spoke too soon. That looks a little bit ugly. It's not damaged, but it's just a bit of rot. The trace rot there. That trace is looking a little bit black. Let's have a look and see if we see any more like that. No, looking pretty good. It was just that one. Lucky. Very lucky. Alright, and that's... Ooh, what was that? Look at all this stuff I'm going to need to UV mask. Piffly ponk. That one I'll have to do before I stick a cap on. It's too much risk there that I might accidentally get some solder on that one and put a new cap on there. That one's probably okay. I can do that after the cap goes on. Oh, I missed one. Friggin' what? 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 I blame COVID for that one. Okay, Now, that one's looking nice. Oh yeah, I love a good scalpel. Cool. There we go. North. Right, so now we get to here. When I'm doing LC2s, I do often end up with customers saying to me, hey, can you put in a socket so that I can put an FPU in it? Which I do, quite happily, for people. I keep a good supply of sockets and a good supply of FPUs here at all times. So that I can just suck all the solder out of those holes, put in a nice little through hole, what is it? I can't remember the number, but a PLCC holder, and then we can just drop in an FPU. Nice and easy. Oh, just going straight up on my face, that is. The smoke that you're seeing there, they're not lead fumes, despite what some people think. Lead does not go gaseous at this sort of temperature. It's just melty. This is the main danger with lead here is ingesting it or handling it for too long, getting through the pores of your skin. The fumes coming up are actually the flux burning away. And you don't want them. It's, you know, I mean, I'm not saying because it's not lead, you know, go for your life. You don't want, I mean, you can see that's not the sort of stuff you want in your lungs, let's face it. So that is why I use a fume extractor. And I guess if you were doing just a little bit of soldering here and a little bit there, you could probably go, oh, I'll be right. But if you're going to be doing this on a regular basis, I would recommend that you do think seriously about a fume extractor, Steve. Boop, 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 boop. Just gotta clean these up. Gotta make them all look nice. There we go. Yeah, so it's not actually beige, it's the platinum colour that Joe has found. So just a lot of people just refer to it as beige, but in actual fact there were two distinct colour styles that Apple produced things in. There was a beige colour, they were the early ones, that was probably like late 70s, early 80s type thing. And then they went platinum, it's a grey colour. Now that grey, through, you know, oxidisation or whatever, that grey has gone an orangey colour now. So it all just looks beige. But in terms of stuff when they were brand new, you actually had beige and you had platinum. And Joe has found a very good colour match for the platinum. So yeah, expensive. I had a look at it, and getting some shipped out here will cost an absolute mozza. But someone contacted me recently, and I think they said they already bought some and they were happy to sell me one of their rolls. So I don't know who that was. I can't remember. I need to look that up. But I really do need to take them up on that offer, because that's about as good as an offer gets. So let's get some new caps onto this one. I'm just going to get this part here that I've just spilt Q-tips all over the bench here, and I'm not at all happy about it. So what I'm going to do first of all is get some UV mask onto this little bit of exposed trace, and then I'll get out my UV laser beam, pew pew, and we'll clean that up. We'll get it all protected. Where are my tissues? Tissues. There we go. You need to make sure the board is really, really squeaky clean before you stick UV mask down. If you put it down where there's a bit of flux, it's just not going to adhere to the board properly, and it'll just come off as soon as you go and clean it, or it'll just crack straight off. So I want to get that board all clean like that, and then I can get my UV mask. It comes in syringes. I have it here in a little sort of, what is it? Little container that I can then dip a paintbrush into. Oh no, that's all right. So I thought I'd put my hand in this stuff. And then I can just paint over that, just thusly. We're wanting to make sure that this is now insulated. So I want this to be a thin coat, but not so thin that it's not going to insulate the bloody thing. Right. Okay, so now we're going to get the UV lasers. I'll set my little power supply here on 3.5 delicious volts. Don't ask me why I did 3.5. 3 is probably enough, but that extra half volt just makes all the difference. Just got to find the plugs for this. So this is one that runs off a battery, but I have adapted it to run off a power supply so that I don't need to keep changing batteries. Go in. Need to, of course, get the polarity right because it uses a diode, and diodes only go one way. Right, here we go. There's my UV. Look how U and V-ish is that. It doesn't usually take too long, only a few seconds, but probably a minute tops to just get that hardened. My Coweets meter today, after using it for a while, how do you find the probes suit you? I actually quite like the probes. The only criticism I would have is that that they come out of the bottom a little too easily. But in terms of the actual probes, I really like them. They've got a really fine point on the end, so I'm happy with them. How about you? Ooh, cool. Have a colour matcher thingy. Is that like a colour matcher thingy that you pointed at and it comes back and tells you what the colour is in some sort of colour matching system? Well, I think that's hard. We will test it. I'll poke it with my scalpel. I'll do it in Ernie from Sesame Street style. Poke, 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 poke. Yep, we're good. Okay. Devalis. I don't think I've said hello to you. Hello. Laser is UV light pen, resin, glue, crystal clear, laser for curing foam. Yeah, something like that. There is zero relationship between Coweets, the manufacturer, and Kai, the person. It is just coincidence of letters. All those cool kids seem to own one of those KM601s. Yeah, look, it's a silly. I mean, look, things like the little flashlight in the back, the little torch. That's actually kind of a nice little convenience if you happen to find yourself doing sort of testing at night or something, or outdoors or something like that. So that's nice, but it's kind of gimmicky. But the thing which is, I suspect nothing but pure gimmick, but just gets me every time, is that absolutely awesome huge screen. I mean, I just love it. And I actually quite like the fact that it shows me the temperature when I'm working as well. So yeah, I've been pretty much using this for everything these days. Right, so let's get some caps onto this board. I'm going to need a recapping guide, which I have, and you will also find on recapamac.com.au. I think com works as well, but I think it just diverts to the com.au. So yeah, recapamac.com.au. It has quite a lot of guides there. I still have a couple that I've done recently I need to get up there. I've got a Color Classic 2, which is the same as the LC520. I think it's pretty close to the 550 as well. And a Macintosh TV. Haven't put these up on the site yet. Got to get those done. So again, when I have time is always the thing. So what do we got? LC475. That is a Color Classic. That is an LC3, which would suggest to me that an LC2 should be nearby if this system was working. And it's not. There's an Amiga 600. Oh, that looks a little... Oh, there's a Classic 2. Performer 275 AKA. LC power supply. LC2. There we go. Got an LC2. This is one of my really early recapping guides, and it is garbage. Right, so we need 1 microfarad 50 volt. I generally work my way from the fewest of a particular type of cap to the most. So, like there's 1 microfarad 50 volt, there are 5 4716s, 1 100 microfarad 6.3 volt, and 10 microfarad 16 volt. I'll leave those 10 till the end, because then it just means that every vacant space on there from then on is just one of those 10 microfarad. So, 1 microfarad 50 volt, let's get one of those little fellas. You'll find a 1 microfarad 50 volt on the LC2. I think the LC1 has one as well. I think, and you'll find them on the SE30 too. And whatnot. Yeah, there you go. Got to keep those. There's generally 4 sizes of cap that you want to have in your supply if you're going to be recapping these vintage Macs, and they are 1 microfarad 50 volt, 4716, 100 microfarad 6.3, and 10 microfarad 16. And of course the LC2 has all of them. Where is me tweezers? Come on, just own up. Own up. Tell me you took them. Here we go. Wish I could change the temp to always show Fahrenheit. Surely you can do that. Surely you can do that. Can I have Kai sign my cards? Yes, I agree. Quicker response time for the for resistance, as I take it. Just a reminder, obviously, with these, when you're in the smart mode, they're very, very slow to respond because they have to figure out what it is you're trying to test. So I would recommend to everyone, if you're going to be using them, seriously, don't use the smart mode. You know, manually select what you're actually testing. So. Okay, 1 microfarad 50 goes here. And I just dropped something. I hope it wasn't important. Ah! Stop it. Stop it, you. I actually put information about all of the multimeters I use in my Fluke review. If you haven't seen it, I these days predominantly use 3 multimeters. I use a Fluke, I use the Coeats, and I use a little one whose brand I can't remember. It's the one I keep up in the house. It's a little tiny thing. It's just really handy for little quick jobs. But it's the other one that I have. The little one its measurements of capacitors are way off. way off, so I can't use it for that. I can use it for DC and AC voltage, I can use it for resistance, I can use it for diode, but I cannot use it for capacitance. But that's okay. If I'm going to be going around measuring capacitors, I'm likely to bring something fancier with me. Okay. Now this is a tantalum capacitor, obviously. Well, not obviously, because you may not know, but if you didn't know, this is a tantalum capacitor, and one of the things about tantalums is they have the stripe on the positive side. So wherever you see positive marked out on the screen printing, that's where the positive needs to go. Okay, we need one 100 microfarad 6.3 volts. So I shall grab one henceforth. And that one lives behind the headphone sockets and whatnot. It's a bit of an annoying one to do because it's so close to this plastic. So what I would generally do when I'm putting this one on, my tip is for anyone doing any sort of soldering like this, recapping, putting new caps on, always do the easy side first, because you can get the thing all lined up and everything, and then you solder it with the easy side, gets it into position, and then you solder the difficult side after that. And this is obviously the easy side here. So I'm going to do the easy side. I'm going to move it a little bit further to the right, just to give me a little bit more room on the left there. Okay, that's a soldered, where I'll solder on one side now, and then I just need to get in a soldering iron into there without melting the plastic here. And for that, I'm going to use Jay's favourite soldering iron tip, a conical. Mind you, it is a bent conical. Still a very handy soldering iron tip. Probably the second most used tip for me. I use a bevel tip as the main one. I use a great big bevel tip for when I need a lot of heat, and then I use this bent tip for fine stuff. And actually, I also have a micro pencil, and that's really good too. But I would use that more with more modern computers. Sorry, I was just singing like my 4th grade teacher then. Good morning. Okay. Just checking up on the chat here, make sure I haven't missed anything of importance. It looks to me, so when I put in manual continuity mode, there's like 50 millisecond delay. So when running pins quickly, it might not be. That's interesting, because I did actually demonstrate that in my what do you call that thing? My review video, and I found it to be pretty darn responsive. So, you know, maybe not as responsive as the Fluke, but it was up there. It's definitely up there. But of course, another really important thing we have to keep in mind with the Kaiweets is the price. I mean, when you look at the set of features in that multimeter, for a multimeter of that price, I find it quite extraordinary. You know, in terms of, if we're talking bang for buck, you know, I mean, yeah, sure, there are things about it that I can say, oh, you know, the Fluke might do this better. Sure. I mean, things like measuring capacitance, the Fluke does it way faster. But the Fluke was also, for me, 6 times more expensive, something like that, possibly more. Right, I've got my air conditioner going. It's not particularly hot today, but it is muggy. It is just so humid at the moment. We've had days and days of rain, so it's very humid. Right, now let's get our 47 microfarad. We've got 5 of those, and then we'll do all the little 10s. I bought some more 47s the other day because I was running a little low. Right, so let's see. We've got the 3 that go down there, and then there's 2 here. So 1 there and 1 there. So let's do these ones first. So we've got a 47 going right ahoya and right ahoya. So let's get those on now. So I didn't really have... Oh, no, I did. I was going to say I didn't have breakfast this morning, but I did. I made myself a sandwich. Forgot about that. So I'm reasonably good for the moment. So, stripe, positive, stripe, positive. Gotta make sure we get that right. And it is really funny how, you know, like when I get stuff sent to me where I'm potentially repairing someone else's recapping attempt, the number of times that I do actually find caps on the wrong way around. And it's easy to do, but I just sort of always feel like, well, that should be the very first thing you check. I've finished recapping it, let's go and see if it doesn't work, or let's see if I've gone in and put all the caps around the right way. How's the Mini going, Jay? The Mac Mini repair. Said he would continue repairing it for as long as I streamed. Well, I'm still streaming, so I'm assuming it's still being repaired. Had any snow there yet, Jay? Jay has been denied snow so far. And he's been seeing snowfall all over the country, but just not in his neck of the woods. The legs on that big chip look crusty. Yeah, they are. But thankfully that is largely a crust that will come off with the ultrasonic cleaning, I believe. So that big chip is the CPU. That's a 68030 CPU there. And you're quite right, it is pretty darn crusty. But this is all just surface crusty. So that'll come off with a good ultrasonic clean, I believe. We'll see. I mean, if not, I'll clean it up afterwards. But yeah, a lot of gunge there. Look at all this goop. Yuck. One of the really common things that I find when I get these is I find these pins bent and touching each other. That's just one of the things that I think happens, possibly when it happens when the boards are being transported to me, or maybe the person who pulled them apart was a little bit heavy-handed or dropped something on it, or whatever the case is. So it's just, that's another thing to always be on the lookout for. Alright, so we've got 3 47 microfarad caps here. Get some Fluxaroonie. We'll put this in a state of flux. Way! Someone going to say it? Someone going to say it? Someone going to say the thing that people always say during my live streams? That might have something to do with flux and might have something to do with a capacitor? Fair bit of trace rot going on here. I'll have to get a bit of mask onto these. What I'm doing is I'm cleaning the black stuff off so that I expose clear copper, get it looking nice, and then I'll coat it. I'll either tin it and then coat it, or I'll just coat it. With these, I'll probably tin them, just to help protect them, make sure that they don't get worse. No snow. Oh, that's so good. Smash. I haven't done a smash that like button yet. I should do it, shouldn't I? Ready, and smash that like button. Ta-da! Yes, it is. It's equivalent series resistance. Someone just reminding me? Is that just in case I've forgotten? I did remember it yesterday. I was doing something and I'm like, oh, what was that thing that I had to remember? Oh, equivalent series resistance. So I think it's in my head now. I'm pretty sure. Right, so now what I'll do is I'll get a little bit of solder wick and make sure I've got a decent amount of solder on it, and we will then just coat just a thin coating of solder on those exposed traces, and that will protect them. And I will probably put a bit of UV mask on them as well, so that it looks a little bit neater. There we go. Oh, I did all of that not on camera. What a dick. Ouch. Hot. Just burned myself on the solder wick. These days I find I'm pretty good at making sure I don't burn myself on the soldering iron, but I do regularly burn myself on things that are made hot by the soldering iron. So whether it be a little bit of solder wick, or it might be something that I've heated on the board or something like that, or you know, one of my heat shields, I go to move it while it's hot. I do stupid things like that. But getting burnt is just part of doing this stuff. Just part of doing it. There's an interesting thing you'll find it probably on the 68K MLA forum, I suspect, where there are these people that think that one of the caps on this board is around the wrong way. They think that Apple made it with the cap around the wrong way. It was a design flaw. I am not one of the people that thinks that it is around the wrong way, but there are a lot of people that do think it's around the wrong way. And good on them. But all I can say is that I put them on in the same way that they were originally on, and the computers work fine. So there. 711 movies, Adam McGee. Goodness me, that's even more than I have. I have about probably somewhere between 500 and 600. That is a lot of films. So tell me, Adam, do you, when you want to watch a movie, do you pull out the Blu-ray, or have you digitized them and put them on like a Plex server or something like that? Because that's certainly what I've done. I've Plexified all of mine, because it just means that, you know, when you want to watch something, you can just sit in front of the TV and go, what am I going to watch? Ah, look, there it is. With the cover and everything like that. Plex is just one of the most awesome pieces of software. I've got actually the Plex server running on my main daily driver Mac Pro. I'm seriously thinking about setting Plex up on its own computer. It doesn't need it, but I've just got a few surplus computers, so yeah. Straight. You must be straight. Thank you. 95% of them ripped to Plex. Cool. That's what I worked on when I was stuck at home for 6 months, right? Yeah. I've actually put most of my Blu-ray discs into storage now. So I can grab them if I need them, but you know. Francisco, hello. Thank you for joining. Probably forgot something really important to remember that. I probably did. A bit of information goes in, a little bit of information falls out. It's just how it goes. Okay, so that's all of the 47. So all that remains on this board now are 10 microfarad 16 volts. And there are 10 of them. How many? 10. 10. Uno, dos. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 8, 9, 10. Whee! So I used to use a particular size that I can't remember what it is, but I now use a different size that I can't remember what it is. It's slightly smaller than the size I used to use. I just find it a little bit easier. The old size was fine. I was always able to solder them on without too much grief, but I don't know, the smaller size is just a little bit easier. So, well, why not? So all of these, every single one of them needs some flux. The way I solder these, I've actually got a video coming out in the not too distant future that will actually go in and describe a lot of these processes that I do here. But when I'm doing this sort of soldering, because I want the component to be positioned in a very specific spot, I like to hold it in position with one hand, and I like to then solder it with the other hand. which means that I don't have a third hand for holding the solder. So what I do instead is I put solder onto the tip of the iron, I use flux, and then I hold the component in place like this, and then I use the flux to transfer that solder from the iron onto the pad of the component. If I didn't have that flux there, it would not move across onto the component easily. The other side I could do without flux. I could just use the flux inside the solder like that. And this is basically how I do it. It's just the way I like to do it. It's not necessarily the right way or the wrong way. It is just the way I like to do it. Because if you are actually trying to... solder needs to have flux in order to kind of work properly. The surface of the solder will oxidize. And so the flux helps to stop that. And so this is why I you know, sort of, if I'm wanting to hold this, you know, and as I say, I only have two hands. So if I'm wanting to have one hand on the iron and one hand holding the component, I need to come up with some other way. I have to actually have the flux to transfer the solder onto the component. And that's the way I do things. And when you watch my videos and I discuss these processes, that I always mention on these things that this is how I do it. It is not necessarily the right or the wrong way. It is just the way that works for me. I have tried lots of different methods, and these are the methods that work well for me. And it still doesn't stop people from putting into the comments of my videos, you're doing it wrong. So, yeah. To which my reply is usually, send me to your video that shows me how to do it right. Truth is, I don't actually reply to those sorts of comments. Do not want to give those sorts of people, you know, sort of a, what do you call it? A vehicle for their comments. You're doing it wrong. My 2CI stopped working. I need to add that to my repair pile. What? Has it been recapped? Because I'll tell you what, the 2CI, if it hasn't been recapped, you'll be in trouble. I love the 2CI. One of my favourite Macs. Absolute favourites. A lot of nostalgia goes into that. But I tell you what, if I am in a situation where I have unlimited time and no work to do, I would quite gladly go and grab that 2CI, whip him out, load up a game of Civilization 1, and just spend, you know, 12 hours playing Civilization with all the cheats on. Because that's the way I play games. Went back and recap them, okay. No, those comments were not from my spouse, no. I'm speaking Italian, so I can see up there that that's definitely not Italian. What temp is your iron at right now? Wow, that is a bone of contention, may I tell you. I run my soldering iron very, very hot, and I don't necessarily recommend that other people do the same. But I run my soldering iron at around about 430 degrees Celsius. And to which most people's reply is, that's too hot. Alexander TV, hello to you. And so, yeah, that is the temp that I solder at. And it's because of the way that I solder. I have a very, very specific method of soldering. And my method of soldering is that I solder with a very high temperature, but I solder very fast. In and out, in and out. So that the iron doesn't actually stay there for very long. So I do my own sort of form of temperature regulation by just soldering quickly. I have a certain amount of time, and it's just what it really comes down to is when you're soldering, and it's like, I imagine it's probably like the same as welding and stuff like that too. You're wanting to get these things to do what you want them to do. You know, you're dealing with these things. I want the solder to work in a particular way. I want it to make a particular shape when I solder something. And I've tried lots and lots and lots of different temperatures. And then I found that I just kept on turning the heat up and up and up and up, and just kept getting to a point where I was just getting the results that I wanted. I was getting the predictable results that I wanted with the really high temp. And that's just how I do it. And it doesn't matter how many times I explain that. There is always someone, and I'm sure it'll go into the chat now, there's always someone, so you can be first to say it. There's always someone that says, that's too hot. Yeah, I mean, this is a really important thing, John. When I have, thank you, Michael. I knew you'd come through. When I do my my instructional videos on soldering, I say to people that this is the temperature that I use, but it is not the temperature that I recommend. If you are beginning, if you are learning to solder, if you're at a particular level in your soldering, don't run your iron that hot. You will melt stuff. You've got to run it cooler. But I'm not going to lie to people when they ask me what temperature I have my iron set at. I will say to people, this is the temperature I use, but it's not necessarily the temperature I recommend. So that's sort of, every time someone asks me that question, that's the kind of the answer that I have to dish out. I would say that for most people, the temperature you'd want to use would probably be mid to high 300s. I would say that will depend on whether you're using leaded or unleaded solder. I use the leaded type because once again, it all comes down to getting the solder to do what I want it to do, and I like working with leaded solder. It has, obviously, there are some safety precautions you need to take. I should be wearing gloves at the moment. I'm not, but I will wash my hands thoroughly at the end of this. I won't touch my eyes or nose or whatever while I'm working with this stuff. And yes, I should be wearing gloves, and I'm not. And I don't know why I'm not wearing gloves. I always prefer... Oh, God, come on, Rain. I always prefer working with gloves. I mean, they get a bit sticky and then you have to replace them. But because I hate getting goo on my hands. I just hate it. Sinister Pisces. I have to solder in a beekeeper suit. It probably wouldn't protect you from the fumes. Lucas Elliott, hello. No glove, no love. No. I actually want to get into welding big time. But I need to I've got a friend who does a bit of welding. I need to talk to him and say, what should I go with? I'm thinking about just starting off with like a bit of stick welding, just to try it out, see how I go. Just something I've always wanted to do. Get started somewhere. Only 3 more caps to go, folks. And we'll see whether this is going to be one of the LC2s that makes the farty noise when I switch it on, or whether it will actually just go bing. Oh crap, do I even have a power supply down here? I hope so. Okay. And because these 2 caps here sit right next to each other, I need to try and get them aligned, because otherwise it will really notice if they're not aligned. So I've got to get that one so that he lines up with that one. The other one you can't see. There we go. I just haven't been paying attention to what I've been broadcasting here. I'm probably doing lots and lots of stuff you can't see. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay. So we have those two looking pretty symmetrical. Bing, 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 bing. Last one here, right near the serial number. Try not to burn the serial number. Yeah, this is actually one of the problems with TIG welding and what's the other one, MIG welding. You know, it's the gas bottles and everything you've got. I mean, I totally accept that that's the way to go, and you know, you get awesome results. But you know, it's not just the equipment. You then got to have all those gas bottles to do. Oh crap! Something fell down. Those gas bottles to do the welding. So this is why I'm thinking, you know, just at least to get started, do a bit of the old stick. Lucas Elliott, did I say hello back? Hello. Never on the right camera. Newscape is never at the point folks can see, and it just happens. Flux core MIG welder, no gas needed. Okay. I like the sound of that. Flux core MIG. What time did you finally get to bed last night, Joe? Because you were still streaming at like, what, 1:30 in the morning or something like that. Flux core welders don't require flux core MIG. Okay, well, all right, everyone, flux core MIG. That's what I'm looking at. I'm going to start pricing a flux core MIG. And the next thing you know, I'll start having welding live streams. Whoopsie. I've got a couple of videos that are in the pipeline at the moment, which are kind of unrelated to what I'm doing at the moment. You know, they're unrelated to the computer stuff. I've got one which is going to be a tip for scanning, you know, as in like scanning images with a scanner. Because I worked in print and pre-press for 15 years of my life. So I've got quite a few little tips to do with computer graphics and stuff like that. And I was thinking, oh, this could make a nice short little video just to give it a little bit of interest. So I'll be curious to see what that does, whether it completely breaks all the algorithms, because I'll be doing something different. Upgrade to take gas later. I'm a welder. Thought about making welding vids, but hard to film. Yeah, I would agree. Okay, well that's all the caps on. Just going to do a quick little check here to make sure I got all the polarities right. Yes, and a 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 yes, and yes. Now, given how dirty this board is, I would not be surprised if it does not work, because there's so much gunk on it. But we will still give it a try anyway. So let's change camera views here, and then after this, that will be it. I will be finishing for the day. I'll go and work on something else. I mean, I'm not really finishing for the day. Finish working on this for the day. Now, has anyone seen my LC power supply? Is it even down here? Is it even in the workshop? There was one floating around here for a while. Ah, look at that. Oh no, that one's in pieces. That is clearly a work in progress. Looking. I may have to go up to the house, so just maybe. Boop, ba-doop, boop. Looking for a power supply for an LC of some description. Can't find it. It's on the desk. No. All right. I'm gonna do my old back soon thing. So just excuse me for a brief moment while I go. I'll give you some delicious music to listen to while I'm gone. Now, just keep in mind that this is sometimes a little louder than my speaking voice, so you may want to get your hand on the volume control just in case it starts blowing your brains out. So, back in a couple of minutes. Smells like someone's barbecuing. Just looking here. All right, okay, just checking it that I didn't miss out on anything too important while I was gone. I ended up bringing the whole computer down. Why not? So I'm just going to grab myself this power supply out of here. This is my LC2. And tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to just move this out of the way. I'm going to plonk this on the table, plonky plonk, and we're going to just change to the top view camera. And I'm just going to show you inside my LC2. First of all, the RF shielding keeps falling off, and I probably should just throw that away because I hate RF shielding. And I'm an RF rebel. I've got myself here a network card plugged into the LCPDS slot. You'll be able to find these fairly readily these days. This one is I don't know, actually I think someone gave this one to me, but I've got quite a few of these. I've got a few Farallons. So very, very handy to have around. Obviously thin Ethernet there and then 10 base T there. So I'd highly recommend having one of these if you're going to have an LC2, so you can download stuff off an FTP or whatever. As you can see, mine's been recapped. I use these slightly larger caps for these ones. I've got a 256k VRAM sim there. I should actually put in a 512 because I've got a 512. I got gifted some 512s. And as you can see, I've put a socket on there so that I've got an FPU in place. And if anyone's wondering, what difference does an FPU make? Well, you get better scores on the FPU test when you run a benchmark. So there you go. That's the big difference. I'm sure there's other differences, but... Right, so let's just whip the power supply out. The LC2 is one that sort of came out before the massive problems with the plastics. You'll find an LC475 would look so similar to this, will just fall apart. What's that say? Oh, look, I got a super chat. Not sure why I enjoy watching someone solder. S. Shrek, thank you very much for the super chat. That is much appreciated. And who knows? Who knows? It is weird, isn't it? But yeah, why? I don't know. The same thing happened to me. It was what really got me started into this. I used to watch live streams of other people soldering, and I'd be sitting there going, I don't know why I like this, but I like this. Right, so we're going to plonk that there. We're going to connect that up to the power supply. Then we're going to grab a speaker, which I have floating around here somewhere. Have I put it away? I think I've put it away. Yeah, here we go. Here's my speaker. This is my little testy speaker. So we're going to put that onto there for the speaker. This one here is for the fan. Oh, you can't see it. This one here is for the fan. This one here is for the speaker. Plop that there. No, this is not one of the computers that requires a battery to be installed. So just in case anyone is saying, hey, put a battery in. But I think it does need VRAM plugged in. It has some RAM here, but I don't think it has any onboard VRAM for memory. So unless you put VRAM in it, you won't get a picture. I probably won't connect up a display. I'll be content if I just get a chime. Can actually add, yes, I know, I mean, it is funny that they went to the whole process of actually building the architecture so that it could take an FPU and then not putting it there. I think as someone said once, this is essentially like a Color Classic, but on the LC framework. There we go, there's a RAM sim there. I don't know what size these are, because it was a very bizarre thing during the early stages of computers. No one ever identified their RAM sims. They never actually put labels on them. These days you go grab a RAM sim and they've always got labels on them saying exactly what they are. Not back then. No sir. Alright, so let's connect it up to some power and see what happens. This is a 512 VRAM sim there. You can tell because it's got 4 chips on it. Good to have, good to have. Okay, and let's see if we get a Chime. 3, 2, 1, and absolutely dead. And as I mentioned before, I would probably blame that on all the gunk all over this board. I think it is going to need a fairly serious clean. I guess we can do a not so serious clean, can't we? I'm going to just get a little bit of flux cleaner here and just go a little bit of... Sometimes helps. What's the difference between 256K and 512K VRAM on one of these? Yes, so I think now you have to have fairly modest expectations when it comes to these, but I think if you have the 512 in, you'll be able to get, I think it's possibly millions of colors at 12-inch, which is the 12-inch display. If you're using a 13-inch, it's probably thousands of colors with a 512. So yeah, you just end up with being able to display more colors on there depending on the resolution. If you soldered the second floppy connector on, would it work? I bet you it would. I bet you that would work. I bet you. I've never done it. Why have I never done that? I don't know. I've never done that. Isn't that crazy? I should have. Okay. We'll see if this makes any difference. If not, I'm afraid we'll have to end it there. This will go into the ultrasonic cleaner and almost definitely will fix it, because just based on my experience, that's what usually does. I can just hear it go. Does a little. So just that tells me that there's power running through the board, but it's just not able to kick over. And we'll just check that very quickly here with our Kaiweit's KM601 multimeter. Links in the description if you want to buy one of these. I'm going to put this onto DC voltage. Let's get our lovely big luscious screen on the camera there. And I'm all tangled up here. Tangled up. There we go. So I just want to go in and check to see that I've got power coming out of this power supply. It's just the obvious thing. So let's go negative. We go there, 5 volts, there, 12 volts, there. Oh, that's the, oh yeah, minus 5 volt rail. So we're good. I wish ultrasonic cleanings magically fix my projects. That never happens. Well, yeah, it happens to me a lot, but that's maybe just because of the sorts of stuff that gets sent to me. For instance, the 2CX that I did a live stream of relatively recently, which was, I think, will this 2CX ever work, or something like that. I can't remember what I called it, something like that. That was fixed with an ultrasonic clean. A few caps went flying from the Mac Mini donor board. Oh no, game over for now, as I only had the one board and no board views. Ah, crikey. I know. So basically you're in a situation now where you got all these caps floating around and you don't know what goes where. That sucks. So why no board view? I would have thought there'd be a board view. Oh no, it's really only the laptops, the minis. They're not around, are they? Yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame. So you're going to have to get another donor board. Piffle. If it was, the pics wouldn't help, Mike, because the problem is that you actually have to know, because the capacitors, those capacitors at that size don't have any markings on them whatsoever. You have to actually know. You have to say this was here, and now it goes here. So you sort of have to take it off that one and then plonk it on that one. You have to take it from the exact same spot from two. It's really the only way. Even a photo will say, okay, yeah, I can see where all the components go, but it doesn't tell you what goes where. So yeah, I've actually got a 2014 Mac Mini, but yeah, I'm not pulling it apart for you, no way. So anyhow, I apologise we didn't get a chime. We did get a, but as usual, what I'll do is I'll drop this into the ultrasonic cleaner. I will then post a little follow-up on my Facebook page. So if you haven't gone to the Brinkus Creations Facebook page, please do so. Go in and follow and like or whatever the things you do on the Facebooks there. And if I'll fire this up after cleaning, and we'll just see how it goes. And if it all works, then I will post it. If it doesn't, I'll cry. I'll just check and make sure that I didn't accidentally remove some components or something like that. But yeah. Another thing I always check for when I have a board that doesn't work, I mean, again, we've still got lots of steps to go through first, but another thing I generally do is see if anything got knocked off the back. That does happen with alarming regularity. People removing the boards from their computers or whatever, they accidentally bump one of these little components off the back and then replace it, and away we go. That was the case with the Color Classic that I worked on relatively recently. Okay, so how long do I generally run the boards in the ultrasonic cleaner? Board like this, I'll probably give it about 15 minutes per side. I generally put it in this way first, so in other words with this side down, and I do that because this is not particularly dirty, this side. So during that time, the heat and the detergent will be starting to soften the stuff on this side. So it'll be starting to get a little bit soft and easier to remove. Then I flip it over onto that side, give it 15 minutes, and it'll just get all that stuff off. So that's what I'll be doing for this one. If you were looking at something that was a lot cleaner, you wouldn't need that long, but with these computers at this sort of vintage that are absolutely covered in electrolyte gunk, you really do need to give them a decent amount of time in the ultrasonic cleaner. Can't go too far. If you go too far, you can actually cause some unwanted erosion. But yeah, that's probably the longest I'd ever put a board in is probably about 25 to 30 minutes, and that's if the board is in really bad shape. All right, well, I am going to sign off now. I have been going for 1 hour and 58 minutes, and I said I wanted to keep this under 2 hours, so it looks like I'll just scrape in there. Thank you to everyone who's watching. Thank you. Oh, I got a thumbs down. I haven't had a thumbs down in ages. Yeah. It always just makes me feel good that someone has been worked up enough to press that button. Fantastic. Unless it's just Jay being an idiot. But he would usually tell me. He actually is proud of when he presses the dislike button and lets me know. Did you figure out the wobbly classic? I figured out one of the wobbly classics. That one did actually get sorted, but I've now got a second wobbly classic, which is giving me a different problem. So the symptom is almost the same. It is also wobbly. It is also checkerboard, but it is giving me a better output voltage than the other one. The other one was giving me about 3 volts. This one's giving me about 4.5 volts, but I'm still getting wobbly. And so I've got more work to do on that, and I'm not looking forward to it. So there we go. Take pride in my dislikes wasn't me. That's what I thought would be the case. Oh, we've got 2 dislikes now. Excellent. Hey, I've got the count here. You can't see the count anymore, but I can see the count on this. How cool is that? All right, so one more quick little...
Smash that like button.
And then time for me to then say my goodbyes. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the chat in general. It's always great to see the chat alive and busy and everything. I really enjoy it. Thank you to all the folks that watched. There were quite a few of you today, so I do appreciate that. Hope you all have a good rest of evening, rest of day, whatever it happens to be in your neck of the woods. Yeah, did I say thank you for keeping me company? Because that's always an important thing when I'm working on these. Having a bit of company is nice. Let's hope that Australia beats the English in the cricket today. And they may have already while I've been live streaming. I haven't checked the score in a while. And I will see you all at the next one. So, hang on. There we go. Thank you and goodbye.